morning. Thanks for the kind intro, Phil, and invite to speak today. I hope that you all find, as I say, the case study I'm going to share interesting and can get something from the journey that we've been on over the last couple of years with Smartly, as we say. Hopefully, many of you are familiar with OVO, but it is a fairly new company, so let me start there with introducing who we are. And I'm a big believer that first impressions definitely aren't everything, but I do think this slide is useful in just giving a sense of what we're about and our values. This is our main office, also in Bristol. We're a company that, again, has originated in the southwest, and there's been a lot of conscious effort around creating a workplace that is fun, inspiring, and hopefully, as you notice, green. It's somewhere that people tell us feels immediately different, and that resonates, again, really to a lot of what OVO is about. It's a company that is still relatively young, as I say, has been on a huge growth journey over just under the last 10 years. We're going to celebrate the 10th birthday later this year, I'm sure with some great celebrations. And founded in 2009 by our owner-founder, Stephen Fitzpatrick. It was a company at that point set up with a small team of people working with him around a kitchen table, but with a big ambition to make energy clearer, simpler, fairer, greener for all. And over the last 10 years has grown rapidly. Today it's the largest UK independent energy technology company and supplier, serves just around 1.5 million customers. And as I say, all of that has obviously created great times of change and growth. Today, the mission is still the same, around changing energy forever, and at the heart of that, as I say, around bringing affordable clean energy to everyone. But increasingly, the recognition is, while the core of that is our gas and electricity business, we can't do that for the future without also bringing in sort of intelligent grid technology, and there's strands of the business now focused on electric vehicles, home battery storage, and how all of this actually comes together as an ecosystem of the future. All of that's relevant, hopefully, in setting a context, that therefore the talent strategy has always been at the heart of the business. I joined the business 2.5 years ago, but I think it's true to say from day one, there's never been a need to get HR to the table or get people on the agenda. It's been there from the beginning because it's a company that's needed to attract a lot of people. We've grown to a workforce now of around 2,000. So talent attraction, retention have always, as I say, been imperative for the company. Moving with more relevance to today and where the sort of financial wellbeing work all started, I'm not showing, I think, anything that you won't have already seen or seen versions of. We all know there's been a lot in the press over particularly the last sort of year or two around the growing noise on financial wellbeing, whether that be, as I say, the pensions time bomb, the younger generation who are struggling to get on the housing ladder, may not afford to retire, etc. And I think we're all aware and no doubt thinking or working to various degrees around the increasing need to link those concerns and those issues with physical and mental well-being. I think it was reported last year there were more days lost to mental illness or stress or various strands of that than cold, flu and musculoskeletal, which used to be the big headaches for physical well-being. And separate surveys showing that 9 out of 10 people below 35 felt they would struggle to get on the housing ladder within the next decade. For OVO as a company where over 80% of people are below 35, these were issues, as I say, that we couldn't ignore. And working also with our flexible benefits partner, Thompson's, this just shows a snapshot from their Employee Benefits Watch research, which again you may have already come across, but this talked to the same headlines. And in particular, while the headline was around kind of holistic well-being and bringing that together, the gap we felt, and the research brought out, was around financial well-being. Assessing ourselves against this, we were exactly in that box. 2/3 of employers not providing any support specifically on financial well-being. 80% not providing any kind of work savings vehicle outside of pension, debt counselling, mortgage brokering, all practical ways that we can respond to it, and these were things that we hadn't yet explored. So using their methodology, it actually gave us a really practical way to sort of self-assess and look at the different options. And we were in a place where we already had a flexible benefits offering, so that was already well established and popular. But as I say, assessing that against the pillars of financial wellness, I would say we talked to the most traditional elements of that. So control over everyday finances, absolutely. We had a voluntary discounts and deals platform that helped with sort of day-to-day savings. But no, we hadn't really thought about budgeting tools or anything else that could help people with sort of controlling and managing that. Preparation for the unexpected. Again, yes, we had good old life assurance, critical illness, but there wasn't anything that helped people perhaps to think about how to save, a nest egg or to build up savings. Freedom to make choices. Again, we had, a strong talent development function, but we weren't really thinking about broader financial education and guidance. And there was, Pillar 4, there was absolutely a pension provision that was competitive. And, as I say, that was there strongly, but we needed to look at how we brought really a broader package to support it. So flipping back in, hopefully I've given some sense of our culture already. As I say, the talent strategy has always been at the heart of the business, and creating a very values-led culture with a unique offering, so that the workplace I showed at the beginning is absolutely all part of that. It does sound corny, but I always say, and I think this is actually in my bio, in the fact that, genuinely OVO, it's all about making sure work doesn't feel like work. We want it to absolutely be all about driving our vision and productivity, but it should also be about fun. The quirky workplace is part of that, complete with treehouse and slide. We offer free fruit, free breakfast. There's an on-site gym. There's a summer party, which is our version of Glastonbury that people can bring families to as well. And as I say, flexible benefits have always been at the heart. We worked with Thompson's actually in 2014 to introduce a flexible benefits platform, which was popular. And in fact, thinking of the themes today, pension was one of the most popular elements in there. OVO offer employees a 4% benefits pot to put towards flexible benefits of their choice, and that includes the option to sort of pension top up, which is one of the most one of the most popular choices alongside holiday. But increasingly, the feedback we were hearing, as I say, with our demographic was that's all very well and good, but actually how can I use these benefits, and how can you, OVO, help me more and more to save for the short and the medium term. And so whilst it wasn't something that was playing out as a particular issue, certainly the workforce weren't shy in telling us this. It's a very classic millennial population, so they weren't, as I say, quiet in making those thoughts known. As I said already, we've got, as I say, just over 80% of people under 35, and these were questions that were being raised, at the town hall to our CEO, as well as coming through our employee forum. So rather than let it develop into an issue, we wanted to be proactive and address it head on, so started to look at what are the options, what can we do? And actually reiterating what Heather's already said, it absolutely started in terms of those employee comments and began with employee involvement. So we work very closely with individuals to actually understand when they were voicing this, what was the situation and what were the real life examples and situations that people were looking for help with. We have an employee forum, so we worked with them in terms of exploring what this could look like, and putting them at the heart then, as I say, of exploring and shaping the solution. That in itself really helped with business buy-in, but we also responded very quickly thanks to the benefits consultancy advice from Thompson's, who put us in touch with Smartly, and both were really flexible in working with us to create something that could fit within the existing flexible benefits package quickly. We defined, as I say, the success factor that we were looking for, so it was around addressing that very specific question people had asked us: how can you help plan for the future? But also, 2 years in, it was a bit around refreshing the flexible benefits fund as well. That had high engagement, but it will surprise you for what is effectively free money. We still were only getting around sort of 80% utilisation, which of course was a business saving, but that isn't what it was about. So we wanted to use this to boost the utilisation of the Flex Fund, and as I say, just recharge engagement with that. And the user experience was also really important, and Smartly here, so you're able to sort of see a demo for yourselves today if you wish, but it was really around finding a provider that we felt was on brand, that was absolutely tech-enabled and could do this in a way that made the complex simple. Without prejudging, but a lot of our employees would tell us themselves they weren't going to walk into a bank. Lots didn't even know what an ISA was, and it was about doing this in a way that didn't feel scary, that felt really easy, and as I say, felt relevant for them. So, as I've said, we introduced the ISA with Smartly. We worked with them and Thompson's to create a new scheme design to do that, because initially there were some difficulties with the Flex Fund, and naturally ISA contributions need to be post-tax. So we worked with both of those to develop a new scheme design, introduced that as one of the options, to say, within the Flexible Benefits Fund. People can also choose to do that from their own salary. It naturally just works out if there's any overage. And we also introduced mortgage brokering at the same time, so that people could really think about, almost a whole toolkit, given that most predominantly people were talking about doing this to save for the first home. In terms of how we launched it, just wanted to share again a few of the ways in which we did that, because I think the communications has been probably the biggest part around the response and the participation that we've had. We created a range of digital tools, so there's a sort of how-to guide, as I'm sure many of you have, but also targeted comms through the year. I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons. Yes, we had sort of a big bang launch, and got great initial response, but it always surprises you, doesn't it? A month, 2 months later, you find people that still say, "What, an ISA? Do we do that? Really?" So we've continued a campaign through the year, both on, as I say, that ISA product, but also our pension and the other benefits, and how all of these things can come together. Similarly, with Heather, we've run focus weeks. So in mental health awareness week last year, it was also around financial resilience and making the most of your money. The campaign in the middle is actually a targeted comms that we sent to people who were sitting on that free money and not spending it. So every month we do that. And it can just be that a benefit's unlocked, or people have had a promotion and haven't realised that generates a little bit more. But just encouraging people to really, as I say, make the most of it. And combining that, as I say, with face-to-face, so we had a big sort of roadshow in our atrium, which our providers collectively supported. Smartly and some of the other providers also ran drop-in sessions, so that actually if people wanted to get to the real detail, that there was much more education around specifically the ISA product and how all of that worked. We've run pension talks, and again, that's one of the things that has been really important. This isn't around forgetting the pension or moving away from that. We've had a unanimous response to that, and like with Hargreaves Lansdowne, we have actually a really large contingent on the road, so we've always videoed those so they can be shared too. And most recently, we were really delighted actually to work with Legal & General. I think having been through the initial phase, we hadn't at that point deployed a specific financial education tool or hub, and again there's various versions available now. But as our pension provider, we were actually able to work with L&G through a beta testing phase. It's something that we talked to them because they launched a new pension microsite last year, which was great and offered lots of tools around retirement planning, but very much, as I say, with that long-term view. And so in giving that feedback to them around, okay, that's great, but actually how do people then think about everything along the way? We and one of their other clients have been able to work in creating this new financial wellbeing hub, which now, as I say, provides a really simple place that houses all sorts of information and tools, and is available at no cost as a pension client of theirs. So again, our employees were delighted to be involved in that, able to give their feedback and feel as though it's something that they've sort of owned from the beginning. So in terms of our lessons and measures, I've shared some of that as we've been going, but I guess to go back to where it started and the comments that we were having from our teams, I think that's, for me, been the single most satisfying thing of all of this. People sharing real life stories where it's made a difference. It's helped people with, as I say, saving towards their first home. People who genuinely were in that camp, they thought, well, there's no chance, it's 10 years plus away. And actually through sitting down with the trained advisors and, just breaking it down, suddenly making that feel so much more achievable. The ISA, again, I think that the quote here says, I'd never have thought of it before, but My Rewards makes it so easy. And we had a great story shared in the Telegraph last year of Harriet in our team, who, again, is a big believer, joined at the beginning and has now amassed a really nice contribution towards a deposit. But in terms of some of the qualitative stats, so as things stand, we've got just over 10% of people that have chosen to join the ISA. It's flexible like the pension, so month on month people can choose to vary that if actually they want to put more or slightly less in time to time. But we're seeing, as I say, that grow alongside still really healthy pension engagement. So we've got just under 90% of people in the pension, but nearly half of those are actively choosing to contribute more, whether that's through basic salary or, as I say, using an element of the flexible benefits pot. Over 10% again have used the mortgage sessions. I've mentioned we've had some great feedback, nearly 20 of our team buying their first home through the mortgage team so far. And the flex fund utilisation, I'm pleased to say we got that, as I say, from a healthy 80s, but over 90% now of the flex fund, as I say, being used to good effect. So it's been really satisfying, as I say, to get some of the recognition through equally some of the awards this year, but it genuinely doesn't stop there. I would be the first to say that whilst we've been through a journey so far and hopefully some useful lessons to share with you, it definitely doesn't stop, and that's one of the key things we've realised. It's about a constant drip feed and making sure the communications follow through as frequently as monthly, and certainly keeping it really topical and really relevant. Don't assume it isn't about pensions, as I've mentioned, and the keeping it simple and responding with pace. There's, as I say, so much more that we can and should do. But at the outset, it was about saying, what's the biggest theme? And as I say, through the help of both providers, we were able to respond and implement that within 6 months. So providing a really sort of timely reaction. And lastly, but not least, as I've said several times already, just working with our teams so that even before launch, they could feel and understand that we were responding to it. So in a sense, there was already, as I say, a sort of positive "we've heard you" that could be understood.